Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. Let's talk today about self-care for new or returning knitters. Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. Let's talk about self-care for knitters, because self-care is something that we don't possibly think about when we're knitting, because knitting feels like self-care itself. It is calming, it's relaxing, it's meditative, it's all sorts of things that are associated with knitting are actually really good for you. But as you're knitting, especially as a new knitter or a returning knitter, there are a few things that I would suggest for you just to take care of yourself while you're knitting. So the first thing is, if you're new to knitting or you're just returning to knitting or you're knitting a lot more than you usually would, because maybe you are just stuck at home for a long time, so you think, I will do some knitting. Well, first of all, recognise that you're going to realise you've got muscles that you didn't know you had before. So you're going to get pains and aches, and even if I just start doing a different knitting technique, so again I use different muscles because I'm using my fingers differently, then I will notice, oh, that muscle's feeling a bit weird. I didn't realise I was using that when I was knitting, but you will discover that there are muscles you didn't know you had. So first thing I would suggest is yoga. Just take a look at the 5 yoga for knitters videos I have and do maybe one each day or half of one each day, or just pick out a few poses from a couple of them and say, I'll do that every 15 minutes when I'm knitting. When you're knitting, your hands are in a claw shape because they're holding onto the needles, and you just may need to stretch those fingers out a bit. Maybe the muscles in your arms are aching a bit, so you just need to take care of your breath and your shoulders, because the shoulders can have a great impact. If there's a lot of tension in your shoulders, then it can mean that your arms are likely to ache more. So let's just take hold of that as a little bit of advice to say, maybe some yoga occasionally instead of knitting will help. Just put your knitting down for a bit and do some yoga. Also, again, especially if you're using large needles for the first time or new techniques, and if you're a beginner knitter who's never knitted before, then break it up. Use different activities in amongst the knitting, and say only knit for 15 minutes at a time, maybe twice a day or 3 times a day if you like, but then you can extend that time. You can say, okay, this week I'm doing 20 minutes at a time, and the next week can be 30 minutes at a time. But just breaking it up like that will mean that it's a lot easier for you and your muscles don't go into tension mode. So also let's talk about eyes, your eye health, and how much fatigue you might end up with if you are focusing and concentrating on your knitting for a long period of time. Because in that respect, it's going to make you tired for other things that you need to do during the day. If you have a bit more experience in knitting, you can look at that in a way where you say, I have to focus on one project, I don't have to focus so much on another one. So break them up and mix up your projects too. I do that a lot. If I have to focus on something a great deal, then I won't do it while I'm watching television, and I will break it up with other things that I'm knitting. So that can really help with your eye health, with your focus and your concentration, which will lead to less fatigue. And of course, let's talk about your hands as well. If you're knitting with yarn that you've not knitted with before, if it's a fibre, if it's a really tight ply or a thin yarn, you could actually end up with little sores on your fingers as well, especially again if you're knitting for longer periods and for more time during the day than you would usually. So moisturise regularly, wash your hands obviously, but moisturise as well. And then you're going to give your hands a much better chance of letting you knit for longer periods of time, and a much better chance for you to keep knitting month after month after month. Right, that's all I've got for you today, and do come over in my membership because we're likely to talk about this and have lots of other ideas for self-care for new knitters and beginner knitters as well in there, and returning knitters too. Lots of people are returning to knitting at the moment. It's just one of those times, just like we see every winter, lots of new knitters appearing, and every Christmas with the New Year's resolutions too. We're in there chatting about all these things regularly. Great, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you again soon. I'm here every Tuesday, every week. Do subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and click on the little bell for notifications. YouTube will let you know whenever I release a new video. It's every Tuesday, every week. Bye for now. Happy knitting.